Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast here to tell you about Michelob Ultra Courtside. It's getting fans closer to the NBA with a chance to win prizes like courtside seats, a trip to All-Star Weekend, and much more. Check it out at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access, Courtside 24-25 sweepstakes, no purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 and up. Begins on October 1st, 2024. Ends July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
Time to move? Skip the hassles of selling during the holiday season and sell your home directly to Opendoor. Request an all-cash offer in minutes, close, and get paid in days. You can even pick your close date so you can move after New Year's. Start your move at Opendoor.com or download the Opendoor app. Opendoor is represented by Opendoor Brokerage Inc., license 02061130 in California, and Opendoor Brokerage LLC in its other markets. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion with me, your host, Stephen Wallace, for our latest cricket episode. Roland Butcher is back to reflect on England's gripping Test series against Pakistan. Find out his thoughts on what went wrong for England and how Sajid Khan and Noman Ali transformed the series in favour of the hosts. Hello, Roland. Welcome back to the Paddock and the Pavilion to reflect on England's 3 Test series in Pakistan.
Yes, Stephen, always a great pleasure to be on your show. And yes, a very exciting series. Looking forward to the discussion.
Before that, how's life back in sunny Barbados?
Exactly that. Very sunny, unusually hot, really. We've had a couple of months now of severe heat. They said it's likely to continue for several months, but much more preferable to me to have the heat than the cold, so I'm not going to complain. It's been raining quite a bit as well, not for any prolonged periods, but just enough to, take the heat out of the atmosphere. So it's fine.
Oh, my heart bleeds for you there. It's not dull and cloudy here. And we're recording here. You're at the Olympic Association in Barbados.
Yes, I am currently at the Barbados Olympic Association. I've got another meeting after this one, so basically it made sense to come early to do this and then go on to the other meeting.
We ought to give a shout out to Sasha, who's set you up today.
Yeah, Sasha is fantastic. She's also the chair of the Barbados Royals Girls Cricket Club. So, we have a long association back to when I first went to UE in 2004. Sasha was a student then, and really we've been very close since then, right through. She's now in charge of the anti-doping right through the Caribbean, and a very, very good sports administrator.
And the Barbados Royals Girls Cricket Club going well?
Yeah, going really well. We're coming up next month. We will be a year in existence. What we've achieved over the years has been quite phenomenal, really. I think we've achieved something that associations achieve after about 10 years in 1 year. So it's been really good. Lots of support, lots of good people involved. Very well led by Sasha, and a lot of hard work done by the people involved. Looking forward to the next year.
Plus, we should congratulate West Indies. I know they didn't win the trophy, but getting to the semi-finals of the Women's T20 World Cup.
Yeah, they were never one of the favourites to lift the trophy because, the rankings will tell you that there were lots of other teams that were much better than the West Indies going into the tournament. So getting to the semi-final, I think while they'd be disappointed not going a bit further, they should also be quite happy that they reached the semi-final, because at the start of the tournament, I don't think many people around the world would have given them an opportunity to be in that Final Four. So the fact that they made it, they should take some credit for that.
Well, our focus today is the Test series between England and Pakistan, which just finished. And in our last podcast, episode 293, you predicted 2, even 3-0 to England, with Pakistan in disarray before the series and in disarray even after the first test.
Very much so. I thought because of the situation that Pakistan had found themselves in over the last year and a half, they've got real problems, not just on the field, but off the field. The fact that in the last few years they've used over 20-odd selectors suggests that things are not going well. And with all of that upheaval, and I did mention in my last broadcast that Pakistan would have to do something exceptional in order, to stay in the series and win the series. The fact that they did two exceptional things, which is surprising for Pakistan. I didn't think that they were proactive enough, an organization, to attempt what they did. But they did, and in the end of the day, it worked out nicely for them. But at the same time, after the first test, things were going exactly as I thought they would go, where, they scored nearly 500 runs and still got beat by an innings, which is really unheard of and in international cricket. But that then came to the fact that they then made those major decisions, which we'll come on to later on, which really affected the rest of the series.
Yes, let's look at some of the reasons why Pakistan won the series and include some listeners' questions. To start with, the pitches. Should a home side prepare their wickets to suit themselves?
Most definitely. I mean, what's the point of having home advantage? Do you make your opposition comfortable in your backyard? I mean, that would be madness, I would expect. You're not going to go to Australia and get slow turning pitches. You're going to get fast, bouncy pitches. That's their strength. So I have no difficulty in Pakistan preparing pitches to suit their players. In actual fact, I was very surprised the nature of the first test pitch. The last two, really, Pakistan should have prepared all three like that. I thought they were too generous, really, to England in that first test match, which then actually forced them to make some radical decisions.
So what is your view of them playing on a pitch that had been used in the first test at Multan, the first time that had happened in test history? This is a question from Andy Bays.
Again, no difficulty. I haven't seen anything in the regulations that say that you have to play on a fresh pitch all the time. I'm sure you just have to play it on a pitch that is good enough for test cricket. It doesn't have to be a fresh pitch. All credit to Pakistan to have the foresight and the bravery to actually do that, which gave themselves, a really good opportunity. If you think after the first test, they had to make some big decisions. The first decision that they made, I really didn't think that they had it in them to make that decision. And that was to drop three of their senior players, especially the former captain and best player, Babar Azam, Shahid Afridi and Shah Afridi, and also Nazim Shah. To drop those three was really out of the blue. I never thought that they had it in them to do that. But it really turned out to be the turning point and gave them the belief that they could get back into the series, because Ghulam came in and got 100 on debut. Ashram also bowled and batted well. So the three players that came in really fulfilled the change. So that changed the series for me, because it gave them a bit of belief. And then those two decisions afterwards, as you said, to play on the used pitch and to have those two pitches turn in as well, given the opportunity to win the series, and deservedly so.
Certainly, Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum had no complaints about the wickets.
And they're quite right. Why should they? If you come into England, in England the ball swings. You won't find a way not to let the ball swing in England, because that really takes away the challenge of playing in a foreign country. So, when you go to Pakistan, there should be certain things that's peculiar to Pakistan that the opposition have to encounter. Same thing when you go to Australia or India or New Zealand. So Brendan McCullum and Stokes are absolutely right. they prepared pitches to suit their players, and England just didn't cope well enough.
One could argue the second and third test matches were more gripping than the first test, where some people, Michael Atherton included, thought the wicket was a poor wicket for Test cricket.
Well, I mean, I don't quite agree with that, because if a team scores 500 and then lose by an innings, I think that's gripping Test cricket, because any team that scores 500 in the first innings, the team batting second is usually under pressure. So the fact that England were able to surpass the 500 and then put a huge lead on the board and then bowl the opposition out and win the Test match, for me, that is an excellent Test match.
But would you agree the next two tests, I'd rather see Test cricket like the second and third tests than everyone being like the first test? Or is it just the variety we get in Test cricket?
Well, I'd like to see the variety. I don't want to see every single game being a dust bowl or every single game being a flat pitch. But, I don't have a problem with the variance in the pitches as you go along. You're asking players to adjust to the conditions, regardless of what those conditions are. If it's a good flat pitch, or if it's a bouncy pitch, or if it's a spinning pitch, you're really asking players to individually and as a team to adapt. I don't have a problem with that. I thought the first pitch was, it was a good flat pitch, but England still took 20 wickets on it. So what does that tell you?
So were England out-bowled by the Pakistan spinners, or did we just not adapt well enough to the turning ball?
I think a bit of both. I think they were out-bowled by the Pakistan spinners. The Pakistan spinners were better than the England spinners. And the English batters really didn't bat well enough. Obviously, I guess having won the first game so easily, maybe they thought the rest of the series would be a bit of a cakewalk. And, the application wasn't there, certainly in those two Test matches with the bat. Thought the approach was a little bit too cavalier. But you got to give credit to Pakistan. I thought their spinners bowled really well. Ali, again, another new man in the team, and really stood up. So, Pakistan's decision-making after the first Test match, I think, had a huge bearing on the rest of the series.
Yes, Sajid Khan, 19 wickets, Noman Ali, 20 wickets. How impressed were you in the pair?
Yeah, I mean, they complemented each other. And really, that's what you want. I mean, whether it's fast bowlers or not, you want bowlers to hunt in pairs. And those two put England under tremendous pressure. I think the fact that, England, some would say, over the last few years has become very much, flat pitch bullies because of this concept of Bazball and scoring at 5 and over. You can do that on good batting pitches as they did in the first innings in that first Test match. But they got found out when the pitches were not quite as good for batting. But as I said, the Pakistan spinners did bowl well. They didn't adapt too well, England. And at the end of the day, I think the results stood for themselves.
The two Pakistan spinners were very much old school, especially Noman Ali.
Yeah, yes, very, very, very basic. Listen, Pakistan have had a long history in the past of producing some good spinners at home. And while they have been able to produce some fast bowlers, in the not too, I said probably the last 10, 15 years, while they've been able to produce good fast bowlers, you tend to forget that, back in the day, they had some very good spinners. So I think what Pakistan really need to do is to get the balance right, particularly when they're playing home, between the fast bowlers and the spinners. Spinners have always been very good for them. As I said, they went away from that for a period. But I think playing at home, their best chances of playing against the likes of Australia and India, etc., is to have pitches that, initially give some assistance to the faster bowlers, but will certainly help their spinners as well.
How could the England trio of spinners have bowled better?
Well, if you look at the England spinners, really, I think the first thing that leaps out at you is that they're not big spinners of the ball. Jack Leach is, as they were saying, the steady Eddie. He wears you down with bowling consistently, not a big spinner. Same thing with Bashir. You can't really fault Bashir at this stage of his career. He's still very, very young in international cricket. He's still very young in first-class cricket, so he's learning the game. So you can't really expect him to do a job like Nathan Lyons, who you'd expect to win a test match in those conditions. And obviously, Ahmed played just at the end of the series. He's, again, a very young player early in his international career, early in his first-class career. So, if you take the three English spinners overall, they're not as good as the Pakistan spinners, but they do the job for England, and the job they've had to do in the past has been not really to win a lot of matches, because the faster bowlers for England have really created the openings, and then the spinners have done the job. But to depend on those three to bowl sides up consistently, it's not going to be easy.
A question from a friend of yours, Sean Belushi, who said, what did you think Shoaib Bashir learned during the series?
I think what he would have learned is that Test cricket is a very hard learning place. He's learning on the job. There's no question about that. I think it will help him in the future to be a better player. But one thing he will certainly find out from that tour is that it is not easy, even on pitches that gives assistance. You still need to learn and know how to bowl on them. Bashir is still learning, and hopefully in the future, that experience in Pakistan will help him along the way.
Do you still think when they go to New Zealand and next summer that they should persevere with Shoaib ahead of Jack Leach as the sole spinner?
Well, I think New Zealand, you may need to take the two spinners. So the question will then come down as to, depending on the pitches, whether you play one or you play both. So I think both should go on the tour, because you need backup anyway in case of injury. We know what the pitches are like in New Zealand. They're generally very green, but also very good for batting. So, both of them can bowl long spells, and they will need to bowl long spells in New Zealand. Even if they're only playing by themselves, whether it's Leach and then Joe Root filling at the other end, or whether it is Bashir. But they'll have to make that decision when they get there. But I would expect that both should make the trip.
Just returning to the England deficiencies against spin, what could England have done better at the crease?
I think what England could have done better would be more batsmanship. I think the advent of T20 cricket really has reduced the quality of batsmanship around the world. There's still only a few players who genuinely have that ability to bat as a proper batsman. The same Babar Azam, Kane Williamson, Joe Root. Those players are technically very sound players. They can go through the gears, but they've got a very good method. I think a lot of the England batters are, either block or bash. There's not a lot of rotation of the strike. They don't use the crease well in terms of back forward. If you watch Williamson, you watch Joe Root, you watch Babar Azam, they'll either use their feet or they'll go deep in the crease. So they're proper batters. But the T20 really game has changed that quality of batsmanship. Batters now feel that the way to score is to play a big shot, whether it's a traditional sweep, whether it's a sog sweep, whether it's a reverse sweep against a spin. Those are the methods that most of the players around the world now employ when they're playing against spinners. On flat pitches, yes, it will work because there isn't that unpredictability in the pitch. But on pitches that turn, it just really is a matter of time before you mistime a ball or just make the mistake, top edge sweep or something like that. So will it improve in the future? with the current rate of white ball cricket, I don't expect that it will. I think what will happen is we will continue to produce more and more players who just want to score aggressively and really lose that art. I think Joe Root may be one of the last ones who has that art of proper batting. And I think Ravindra from New Zealand now looks a very good player. And obviously, I think Sri Lanka's got some very good batters. They're not bashers, they're batters. The Sanka, Mendes, players of that ilk. But, the one-day game is certainly changing the face of batsmanship.
Because in the third test, Sajid, fantastic century, scored 70 singles in his turn.
Yes, I mean, fantastic knock, because it really set the platform really for Pakistan to win the game. It was an important innings. The team was in trouble as well. So, yes, that is the type of innings that you would expect Joe Root to play, Babar Azam, Ian Williamson, in those trying conditions, to bat, pick up the singles, rotate the strike, hit the odd boundary. But the boundary count is not that important for them. It is more, staying at the crease. And obviously, as you know, the longer you bat, the better your feet move. You see the ball better. The bowling doesn't look quite so threatening. So, those are the things that those players actually do. And Shakil did exactly that in that test match.
That's the sort of innings you need from an England number 3. A lot of questions from listeners, Roger Talbot and Kenny Hutchinson, who both question whether Ollie Pope should remain in the side. He got 55 runs in the 3 tests.
Yes, but don't forget, he scored 100 at the Oval, didn't he? So that was only 3 tests over there. Would you want to discard him now? No, he would know that really he didn't play his best on this tour. He'd probably go to New Zealand and get a hat for the runs. I think, Ollie Pope is still learning the game. Is number 3 his best position? Maybe not. But the way the setup is now, obviously Joe Root is very much settled and should be at number 4. Maybe England need to look at in certain conditions anyway, at another number 3. Could easily be, Smith. Why can't Smith bat at number 3? I think he's a good enough player in certain circumstances. I wouldn't say wherever you play, but maybe he might just be that person on the occasion in places like that on the subcontinent to put in at 3. I think 3 for Pope in New Zealand. He'll bat, he'll make runs because they're different pitches.
Yes, we mustn't forget Ollie Pope scored 3 test centuries in 2024 against India, West Indies and Sri Lanka.
Absolutely.
With Uber Reserve, good things come to those who plan ahead. Family vacay? Reserve your ride as soon as you book your flights. To all the planners, now you can reserve your Uber ride up to 90 days in advance. See Uber app for details.
This year, Santa's bringing the power of Energizer into his workshop.
Whoa, the Energizer Bunny's got so much power.
Wait, he's powered up all the toys. I think that means we're done for the year.
I love this bunny.
He's the hardest working helper the North Pole has ever seen. And he wants all your gifts to have the power of the #1 longest lasting AA battery. So this holiday season, stock up on Santa's and the elves' favorite battery, Energizer Ultimate Lithium.
Behind the delivery trucks that keep your life stocked, thousands of employees at BP go to work every day. People bringing a new offshore production platform online. People making our refineries capable of more, like making renewable diesel from agricultural waste. People trading and shipping fuels to our customers. And people helping truckers fill up and get maintenance at our convenient locations. They're part of the more than 300,000 jobs BP supports across the country. Learn more at bp.com/investing in America.
A lot was made after the test of the top 6 being the best 6 batsmen in England. Do you agree with that?
Well, obviously, over the last year or so, those top 6 have proven to be the ones who have done that. I mean, obviously, Corley missed a lot of the season, a lot of the summer this year, but, once fit, he was always going to come back into the side. I think Duckett now is, a very, very solid opening batter and dependable. He scores runs regularly. So, Pope, is up and down, but as you said, he scored 300s this year, so it can't be too bad. And then obviously you've got Joe Root, you've got Stokes. I think Stokes' batting really at the moment is a little bit disappointing. Is it because of the injuries and perhaps the lack of cricket that he's had? But I think England need him to bat well. And then obviously Jamie Smith is, really made himself come into international cricket and made it look very easy.
And despite losing the second and third test, England were in good positions in both tests. In the second test, we were 211 for 2 in reply to 366, and then lost 4 wickets for 14 runs. And in the third test, the Pakistan side were 90 behind with 7 down in the first innings.
Yeah, I mean, those were key moments in the game, and England let them slip. From that position of over 200 for 2, you would expect that, that there would be some lead in that innings, but they let the game slip there. And as you said, in the second innings, the game really had Pakistan in this first innings under the caution and allowed them to get out. So, but these are moments that in cricket that you win or you lose, and on both occasions, I think England lost those 2 very important periods of the game.
In fact, in the third test, it was those 2 spinners, Sajid and Noman, with the bat who made the difference.
Yeah. I mean, the value of low order runs. You need those runs at the back end. I mean, as we saw in the summer, the runs, those were provided by Gus Atkinson for England during the summer. So you need somebody right at the back end to be able to pull you out of trouble if you are in a difficult situation. England tail, I think, is a little bit. When you play 3 spinners, then the tail is very, very long because neither of the 3 are what you would call batters. I think England perhaps missed a trick in the test where someone like when Ben Stokes was injured, I would have thought a ready-made replacement should have been someone like Sam Curran, really. I think Curran obviously Curran's a better batter than he is a bowler. In the England setup, he appears to be used as a bowler who bats. I think his batting is undervalued. If he's given the opportunity, he could have batted in front or behind Jamie Smith. As a batter, he would have bowled the same few overs that Ben Stokes would have bowled in the game. And I thought, that would have given the lower order a little bit more stability and solidity. So that was an opportunity miss. And, he continues to be someone that they look at as a bowler, batter. I think it's the other way around.
There were some positives, though, for England during the series. Bryden Carse, 9 wickets at 24 in unfavourable bowling conditions for him.
Yeah, he did well. He kept running in some pretty hot and steamy conditions. So he showed good stamina. As you said, he got some success as well. So, that's a plus. You just need to build on that going forward. He will know that he's got a lot of competition in the fast bowling department because, I'm sure at some point in time, George Archer is going to come back into the setup. Mark Wood, when fit. You've got Atkinson, Chris Rhodes is still around, Stone, etc., etc. So, while he's made some gains, he'll know that, he can't rest on his laurels now because there's a lot of competition for places.
We mentioned it earlier, but we mustn't forget Joe Root and Harry Brook, who added over 400 in the first test. Joe Root, 262, and Harry Brook, a treble century. Yeah.
Terrific batting. I mean, as I said, turned the game on its head, really. And that was against the backdrop of a team scoring nearly 500 in first innings. So, Phenomenal performance by the two of those for the team and individually. And, England really needed the two of them in the last two test matches. It wasn't the case to be.
So summing up, what sort of mark would you give England for the 3-test series out of 10?
To be honest, I can't give them any more than 5 or 6, really. I thought the early part, obviously the first test, very, very good. Full marks for that. But I think the last two matches, 2 test matches, I would imagine they would lose marks for those 2 performances, really. Pakistan showed them that, those were conditions that could be mastered by a team that was completely humiliated in the first test match, really, because when you score 500 and get beat by an innings, that is not a beating. That is a humiliation. So the fact that Pakistan came back and really showed the sort of grit and determination, England would lose marks for me on that basis. So I wouldn't give them more than 5, 6 max for that performance.
Plus, Pakistan were on a run of 6 consecutive test defeats.
Yeah, you can understand it. Look, in Pakistan, I wouldn't say Pakistan are, by winning this series that they're out of the mire, because we know exactly what happens in Pakistan when, as things start to go well, all sorts of turmoil appears. And, the fact that, they just keep changing, coaches, etc., like that all the time. You saw, another major thing Pakistan has done now is they removed the captain and coach from being part of the selection panel. That is unusual. Does not fill the captain, I would imagine, with a lot of enthusiasm, and certainly doesn't fill the coach. The coach is relegated to really being a match day analyst. That's all he is. So, that will come back eventually to haunt Pakistan, because that situation is not tenable. So, these sort of things that are happening in Pakistan, hence, you've had those 20-odd selectors, in the last couple of years.
And I think Pakistan's next test series is away against South Africa, where they'll be playing in completely different conditions.
Oh, yeah, completely different. South Africa will have all of their quick bowlers up and firing for that. They've been resting quite a few of them. That would be a very uncomfortable series for Pakistan. And, if you're going to have your coach and captain not involved with the squad or the final 11 that goes on the field, that could well be a serious defeat for them in South Africa.
Meanwhile, England are heading off to New Zealand. The first test in Christchurch starts on the 27th of November. A side that's just beaten India by 3-0.
Yeah, listen, the performance by New Zealand must be the performance of the century. To go to India and completely outplay them. There's nothing lucky about that. 3-0 series victory in India by New Zealand is outstanding. And, should be commended really for that performance. But it's typical New Zealand. There's no fuss about what they do. They just go about their business. Always been a team that has punched above its weight. I think on this occasion, really, they're very much part of the heavyweights now, because what they have achieved in India is just unbelievable. They will have a much tougher assignment against England in New Zealand, because I think England's cricket is more suited to conditions in New Zealand. So that should also be a very interesting test series.
And they won in India without Kane Williamson, who was injured.
Yeah, that was, their lower middle order really stood up and did the job for them. When you look in the New Zealand team, you're looking for the standout players, the standout performers, and there's nobody that just jumps out at you. What you do get is a collective of hardened professionals who just want to do the job for New Zealand. a real team. That's what New Zealand is. They're a real team. They're not a group of individual players. They are a team who fight for each other. And, you know, what they have achieved, I give them the highest marks, 10 out of 10.
With Jamie Smith's wife expecting a baby, Jordan Cox is going to bat 7 and keep wicket for England. Have you seen much of him around the county game?
I mean, he's good on the county circuit, but, you know, Test cricket is a completely different scenario. You know, it's a huge step up. You know, to expect Jordan Cox to come in and do a similar job than Jamie Smith did when he first came into Test cricket is perhaps asking a bit too much. You know, he's going to have to settle into that situation. I think what certainly is required that England start well. I mean, that would help him to settle. But, you know, it's not going to be easy for him. It's going to be very tough, both with the gloves and with the bat. But I think in New Zealand, where they're playing, it gives him a good chance of succeeding because of the conditions.
So you think England will bounce back in New Zealand, the tests being played at Christchurch, Wellington and Hamilton?
Yeah, most definitely. I think England are more suited. They're more suited for those conditions. Ball come onto the bat. A bit more bounce. You know, the aggressive form of the game is more suited to New Zealand conditions. So, you know, New Zealand will be aware of that as well. So it should be a good series. I'm looking forward to it.
So a prediction from you. Last time England went there, it was 1 apiece in 2 tests.
And how many tests are they playing this time?
3 tests. 3 tests. Right. I'm going to go 2-1 England. 2-1 England. They should be doing a bit better than your football team then.
Oh boy. Both of my football teams are not had bad results over the weekend. Obviously Arsenal losing, and then I saw Man United yesterday drawing against Chelsea. Not an inspiring game. Didn't really enjoy that too much, but yeah, it's a tough time. But in international sport or professional sport, it doesn't always go smoothly. You've got to fight hard and bounce back. The only bugbear for me is that Liverpool. Obviously, my wife is a Scouser, so I have to take it in the neck on a daily basis. A reminder that Liverpool are, you know, top of the league. So, apart from that, I'm enjoying the football.
You just answered my next question before I got a chance to say how much your wife must be giving you some stick for Liverpool being top of the league.
Oh, she is. Up to yesterday, I mean, she reminded me quite cheekily, you know, that Liverpool is being chased right now, and the fact that Man City lost as well made it even less palpable for me.
You've still got the sunshine in Barbados to make up.
Well, that's a small consolation when it comes to football, but yeah, sunshine anytime.
Thank you again, Roland, for looking back at England's gripping test series in Pakistan, and we'll probably catch up now in the new year.
Yes, Stephen, most definitely. You enjoy your well-earned holiday, and you know, obviously in the new year there's lots of cricket going on. So Australia had a narrow win yesterday against Pakistan. So lots of cricket coming up for us to enjoy and look forward to the 2025 season.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Morning people wake up for peace and quiet. McDonald's breakfast people, we wake up for the sweet rush of getting that warm, delicious breakfast right before it ends.
Crush your morning goals with a steak, egg, and cheese bagel or any breakfast sandwich and snag another one for just $1 with the buy one, get one deal. Only in the McDonald's app. Limited time only at participating McDonald's. Valid once per day. Must opt into rewards.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.